you were on the show and you gave us the stock, CLSK. I'm like, I don't even know what CLSK is, but you were so confident I bought it. And then during the show, I said I bought an extra $0. So I thought I was just going to buy some shares of like a small amount, but I bought a huge amount. And I'm like, all right, after the show, I'm going to sell some. Jack, in all your confidence, on Twitter, _ Jack's Capital, JXCAPITAL, in all your confidence, said, Jason, if you sell shares of CLSK, I'll buy them. Well, I did.
Call me when you do it.
Some, but not all of them. I kept most of them. But the stock trade is up 55% right now. I mean, I sold some for 13%, but 55%. So what we want to know, it's a down 8% today. Is today a buying day? What's your long-term viewpoint? And then your friend who introduced me to you sent me this whole thing about Bitcoins and what they have. Or I don't know if it has anything to do with CLSK, but I want to listen so well that I am taking out, this is called a nose thing to expand your nose at night so you don't snore, I think. Like the football players use it during football. I'm going to put it on my ear. I want to expand my ear so I don't talk and you just give us your beautiful intelligence. So I'm going to expand my eardrums so I can hear you talk about CLSK. I'm good now. Go ahead, Jack.
All right, so I want to first start with a benchmark and talk to people from a valuation standpoint. And so I'll tell you guys the same thing that I told a Discord group that I'm affiliated with, that to really sit down and look at the businesses that you own and to ask yourself what the total value of cash flow that business can command, and to really sit down and study the value of your businesses. And so what you're seeing across the board here today is relatively late selling for both tax purposes after the new year, and then also kind of a recalibration for some of those businesses. And so when you see like, things like QuantumScape, I know there was news and the offering and things that happened, but there's dozen equities today that are down significantly because of those factors, where somebody sat down and crunched the numbers and said, this company is worth more than they will earn in cash flow for the next, 5 to maybe 10 years. And so some of those names have really pulled back. And so it's good to see kind of a healthy correction in that regard. When you talk about CLSK or CleanSpark as an entity, I think their Bitcoin mining, as exciting as it may be and as great as a PR strategy that it was, and it's great exposure to a non-inflationary asset for them, and it's a phenomenal cash flow tool. And so I think all of those aspects of the acquisition are relatively positive and very healthy for the business. I wouldn't think much of short-term losses like today's 10% plus correction. I would be a long-term investor, and to remember that they are at this moment trading at multi-year, valuations in terms of revenue and income. So it's not unheard of that they would seek some kind of correction like this. In moments like this, I look for companies that are trading at 1 to 2 times revenue or earnings, and I'm actually using it as a purchasing opportunity in either long-term calls or even just equity at the daily or weekly level.
Got it. Okay. So people were talking about why the market's down today. I agree with you on the tax stuff. I shorted that SPY on the last trading day because I thought the market would sell off 2,000 points today at least. I'm surprised it's not down more because I had a bunch of stocks I wanted to sell before the end of the year, but I already had as much gain as I possibly could, or not as good. So I waited till today to trim my stocks, and I thought it would be down 2,000 points today. And so I was trying to cover my hedge, and so it's down, but it's not down as much as I thought it'd be. But on your CleanSpark, is there anything to do with Bitcoin and CleanSpark? I just want to make sure, because I got this message from 1 year.
They own a miner out in Atlanta that has multiple data processing units for ACICs. I mean, they're going to be mining a significant amount of Bitcoin over their time. And so I see it as an injection of cash flow. And from my calculations, they're probably going to make like 75 to 100 million at today's prices of Bitcoin per year just on the mining operation alone. And so from a microgrid and software-based perspective, I would look at that as that business is almost automatically getting that cash injection without having to do anything. And so it's really healthy to their balance sheet. It's good for a cash flow, but I wouldn't look at it from like a fundamental point of their business. It's not the reason why CleanSpark is around. It's not going to be really a pillar of their business. It's a phenomenal vertical for them. For the near term, and it's good for cash flow. But I would remind folks that they are in the business of transforming energy distribution. And although Bitcoin is a phenomenal test case for a very strained part of energy intensity, there's plenty of other areas for them to gain a lot of traction. And so you have to remember, they projected themselves $100 million in a couple of years. And so when they're trading at $600 million, you have to be mindful of a valuation like that. Personally, I bought them when they were $20 million. And so I'm happy with the appreciation, obviously, but I'm not going to pay $600 million for a business that's going to make $100 million in a couple of years. I'm going to go shopping for a company that has, for example, $300 million in backlog and is trading for $70 million on the open market.
Bye.